just like it found you.
Welcome to Director's Choice, the YouTube channel where we explore the world of comics, movies, and TV shows, delving deep into the characters that make these stories so fascinating. In this episode, we're going to talk about Red Death, an alternate version of Batman from the DC Comics universe. We'll delve into his backstory, motivations, top moments, fights with other characters, and his legacy, exploring what makes him such a compelling villain. Red Death's backstory begins on Earth 52, an alternate reality in the multiverse where the heroes of the world failed to prevent a catastrophic event known as the Cataclysm. Batman, consumed by his fears, became desperate to save his world, leading him to seek out a way to gain the power necessary to stop the Cataclysm from ever happening again. In his quest for power, Batman decided to steal the powers of the Flash by using a device known as the Speed Force. However, his use of the Speed Force had unintended consequences, causing him to merge with it and become a twisted version of himself known as Red Death. As Red Death, he used his newfound powers to travel to other parallel Earths in the multiverse, hoping to find a way to save his world and gain even more power in the process. The Cataclysm and Batman's inability to prevent it had a profound impact on Red Death's psyche, leading him to become consumed by his own fears and desperation. His desire for power and control over his environment stems from his guilt over failing to save his world. He believes that if he can gain enough power, he can prevent the Cataclysm from ever happening again and save his world. Red Death's motivations are driven by his intense fear and desperation to save his world. He believes that he alone has the power to prevent the Cataclysm from happening again, and his need for control over his environment stems from his inability to handle the guilt of failing to save his world the first time. His desire for power is a reflection of his deep-rooted fears and desire to regain control over his environment. Red Death's fear is also what makes him such a compelling villain. His fear is a driving force that shapes his motivations and actions, leading him to become increasingly ruthless and villainous in his quest for power. His fear of losing control is so great that he will stop at nothing to achieve his goals, even if it means sacrificing innocent lives in the process. One of Red Death's top moments is in the Dark Knight's Metal storyline, where he faces off against several other versions of Batman who have also become twisted and villainous. In this epic battle, Red Death uses his powers to move through time and space, making him an incredibly difficult opponent to defeat. He proves to be a formidable foe, but the other Batmen eventually manage to overpower him, leading to a climactic showdown that sets the stage for the rest of the storyline. Another top moment for Red Death is in the Flash comic book series, where he faces off against the titular hero in the Flash War storyline. In this battle, Red Death uses his superhuman speed and agility to outmaneuver the Flash and gain the upper hand. However, the Flash's own powers eventually allow him to turn the tables and defeat Red Death in a thrilling showdown. Red Death's use of the Speed Force also leads to several memorable moments. In one scene, he travels through time to confront Barry Allen, the original Flash, and forces him to confront his own fears and insecurities. In another scene, he confronts the villainous Zoom, who attempts to take control of the Speed Force for his own purposes. The resulting battle showcases Red Death's powers and his fierce determination to control the Speed Force at all costs. Red Death has faced off against several other characters in the DC Comics universe, including Superman and Wonder Woman. In his fight with Superman, Red Death attempts to use his powers to take down the Man of Steel, but he underestimates Superman's strength and determination. In a stunning showdown, Superman emerges as the winner. In his fight with Wonder Woman, Red Death attempts to use his powers to control the Amazonian warrior, but he once again underestimates his opponent's strength and determination. Wonder Woman proves to be too much for Red Death, and she defeats him in a battle that showcases her impressive fighting skills. Red Death's battles with the Flash are some of his most memorable, as they both possess superhuman speed and agility. In their first encounter, Red Death outmaneuvers the Flash and gains the upper hand, but the Flash's own powers eventually allow him to turn the tables and defeat Red Death in a thrilling showdown. In their second encounter, in the Flash War storyline, Red Death teams up with Zoom to take down the Flash and take control of the Speed Force. This storyline explores the psychological effects of using the Speed Force and how it can corrupt even the most noble heroes, like the Flash. Red Death's battles with other characters demonstrate his determination to gain control and his willingness to do whatever it takes to achieve his goals. However, they also showcase his vulnerabilities and his fears, highlighting the complex interplay between power, control, and the human psyche. The psychology of Red Death is complex and multifaceted, shaped by his traumatic past and his desperate desire for control. Red Death's backstory is rooted in a catastrophic event known as the Cataclysm, which left him feeling powerless and consumed by guilt. His desire for power and control over his environment is driven by his fear of losing control and failing to prevent another catastrophic event like the Cataclysm from occurring. Red Death's fear is a central driving force behind his motivations and actions. His fear is so great that it has consumed him, leading him to become increasingly ruthless and villainous in his quest for power. Red Death's fear of losing control is so intense that he will stop at nothing to achieve his goals, even if it means sacrificing innocent lives in the process. Red Death's legacy is a complicated one. On one hand, he represents the darker side of the DC universe, a reflection of the fears and insecurities that drive even the greatest heroes to become villains. On the other hand, his character also represents the dangers of unchecked ambition and the need for control. His story is a cautionary tale about the consequences of becoming consumed by one's fear. He represents a darker and more twisted version of Batman, one who has become consumed by his fears and insecurities. Red Death serves as a reminder that even the greatest heroes are not immune to the dangers of becoming consumed by their own demons. In this way, Red Death's character has contributed to the ongoing evolution of the Batman mythos, adding new layers of complexity and darkness to an already complex and multifaceted characters. His twisted version of Batman has inspired other alternate versions of the character. These characters share many of Red Death's traits, including his fear, his desire for control, and his willingness to cross moral boundaries in pursuit of their goals. In conclusion, Red Death is a fascinating and complex character from the DC Comics universe. His backstory, motivations, top moments, fights with other characters, and legacy all contribute to his status as one of the most powerful and formidable villains in the DC universe. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Red Death's character and legacy. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Director's Choice, and if you have any suggestions for future characters or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all our latest videos. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.